What's happening, Nation? It's Joku. We got a big ass game on Sunday. I'm excited as shit for this game. I really want to see how this offense looks. I really want to see how this team kind of pushes to the next level. I want to see who has the advantage in this game. We're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go ahead and jump straight into it. If you are new to the channel, if you think about subscribing, I really would appreciate that. We're going to start off in the quarterback room tonight. It's Teddy Bridgewater versus Derek Carr. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I honestly always have. I followed him for a pretty good minute. And he's honestly having a pretty good season right now. He's only throwing one pick on the year. He's ranked 15th, I think, in passing right now as far as total yardage goes. He's not someone that can be overlooked at all. He also runs the ball pretty damn well. But at the end of the day, Derek Carr is a better quarterback. He's definitely going to end up getting the check mark for this spot. Jumping into that running back room, they have Melvin Gordon. He is banged up for this game. Everything I've seen, he should be ready to go for this game. We'll have to just keep an eye on it to see if there's any setbacks or anything of that nature. Javonte Williams will be the spell back, and then Crockett's going to be their number 3. When Melvin Gordon is completely healthy and Teddy Bridgewater gets into a rhythm, this offense can be very explosive. But I think our front 7 should be able to control this pretty well. On our side of the ball, Josh Jacobs is questionable for this game. He has an illness. I am hoping that shit is not COVID. That is the last thing we need at this point right now. Whether Josh can or cannot go, we have to keep a real close eye on. Kenyon Drake and Barber are both healthy and back on the team. Rashard is back on the team. Even if for some reason Jacobs could not go, I honestly like the way this offense was flowing before he came back. I'm not saying that he's the reason that it got off the tracks. Everybody has seen the shit that has happened, but I still really feel like we rushed him back, and if he needs a little bit more time, so be it. Let Carr continue to do what he did the first 3 weeks. Let Jacobs get completely healthy so we can have him for this playoff run. I'm still giving the advantage to the Raiders in this room. I think if Jacobs can get over this illness that he has right now, I think this will be his first 100-yard game coming back. And that'll help set the tone for this entire offense. So definitely checkmark Raiders here. Since I started making these videos, the Raiders have not won the wide receiver room yet, but I honestly think this might be the first time that we actually do. I am not taking anything away from Courtland Sutton. I think that dude is a beast, and I am extremely worried about him in this game, especially with how banged up we are at that cornerback position. But I am seriously expecting Ruggs and Edwards to be way more involved in this offense than they have been in the past couple weeks. I am banking on the fact that that is one of the major differences that we see in this Denver Broncos game. I think it's really going to help open up this offense. It's going to allow Carr to really start spreading the ball around. Ruggs and Edwards are the key to making this offense really click and pushing it to that next level. If Derek Carr can implement that through his offense, it's going to completely open up the run game for Josh Jacobs or whoever does end up starting in this game, and it's going to make this offensive line look a hell of a lot better because they're not going to have to sit back and wait for plays to develop. It's going to be fast-paced. I'm telling you right now, Derek Carr is going to be slinging that ball out faster than you've seen him do that shit in a long time. That Denver wide receiver room is beat to shit right now, so I have to give the advantage to the Raiders for this wide receiver room. Jumping into the tight end room, they got Noah Fant, they got Saubert, and they have Beck. Honestly, they have a decent tight end room. I really like Noah Fant. I really wanted him to be a Raider when he was first coming into the draft. I have zero regrets about that now since we have Darren Waller. But I don't want to disrespect their tight end room at all. But the Raiders' tight end room, and I've said this a million times, and a lot of you guys still give me shit about Foster just because he has not stepped up and played the role that I thought he was going to. But that's another thing that I think is going to change with this offense moving forward. Having Greg Olsen and Derek Carr in control of it, I think you're going to see the tight ends get more of an expanded role as well as those outside wide receivers. I really think the spread offense that I'm expecting to end up happening with this Raiders team is really going to push us to the next level as far as these guys getting involved early and making big plays to give us an actual lead at the start of these games. With Carrier being on IR and Bowers filling that spot, I still feel like we have not taken a step back at all. I love our tight end room. I've said that a million times. We definitely have the advantage here. But Noah Fant and Sutton are two guys that we have to really keep an eye on throughout this game because they are two people that can flip the entire momentum of the game at any given moment. But as it stands on paper right now, definite advantage Raiders. I know some of y'all are sitting there right now like, oh shit, we are running away with this thing. Next, we have to jump into the offensive line. Our offensive line has been a complete clusterfuck at this point. We are shifting guards around, playing tackle. Right now, Jermaine is fighting with Parker to see who gets that right tackle spot. To be completely honest, I'd like to see Jermaine end up winning that right tackle spot. Put Parker back as a depth piece. I have no problems with that. I think Jermaine has played incredibly well for us so far, and if he wants to get a shot at that right tackle spot after I saw what last week, go ahead, so be it. I do not care. I want to see our offensive line at least be able to hold up a little bit, because if they do not, everything I just said for those past 4 categories does not mean shit, because it will completely fall apart. Our offensive line has been our biggest issue, hands down. We have to get a fix on this. Hopefully Cable has saw something. Maybe Leatherwood moving to that guard spot will help him out. Andre James has at least been playing a little bit more consistent. I understand it's not been pretty, but at least it's more consistent. But this offensive line has a hell of a lot to prove. On the Denver side of the ball, they honestly have a pretty decent offensive line, and they are completely healthy. They have Cushenberry holding down the center position, who has ended up working out incredibly well for them. Glasgow and Reisner playing those guard spots. Denver's offensive line is one of the big reasons they have 3 wins right now. If that offensive line is clicking and they can get control of our defensive line, it's going to be a long-ass game for us. I do not see that happening, but offensive line versus offensive line, you have to give the nod to Denver on this just until we fix the shit show that we have right now. Over to the defensive side of the ball, we get to play another 3-4 defense. Isn't that fucking awesome? Carr has struggled against the 3-4. We have seen it a few weeks in a row right now. Now we have to face another one. Their front is led by Harris, Purcell, and Jones. They are a solid-ass front 3 as far as your 3-4 is concerned. They have decent linebackers backing them up. Purcell is questionable for this game, but from everything I've seen, he should be ready to go. This defensive front, their front 7, is incredibly strong. Our defensive line rotation right now is a little bit jacked up. Our ends are fine, but both of our interior tackles are both questionable for this game. But Jefferson and Hankins are both questionable for this game. You know, Hankins been dealing with some back issues, and Jefferson was banged up a little bit last week. I'm hoping he can just kind of work through that injury. Behind them, we have Solomon Thomas and Phylon. I think both of those dudes have played excellent seasons. And if by some chance they get the start, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's not what worries me. It's when they need to come out of the game, you bring in Square or you have Farrell rotate into that interior spot. I do not mind Klee rotating into that interior spot. I think he plays it incredibly well. But if something were to happen to where anybody else goes down in this game and then you have Square as far as your starting rotation, that's a big-ass step back. It kind of scares the shit out of me in this game, because we have had the injury bug here recently. Our defensive line, as far as pressures go throughout this season, has been ranked among one of the best teams in the NFL. Y'all know how I feel about our defensive line rotation, even if we are a little bit banged up, but I guarantee one of those 2 defensive tackles are going to be able to go in this game. The advantage definitely goes to the Raiders here. This one was honestly kind of a toss-up, but I'm really expecting Mad Max and Yannick to end up having really big games on Sunday, which ended up giving the advantage to the Raiders. Moving into that linebacker room, I really still have question marks about KJ Wright. A lot of you guys have been hitting me up about Corey Littleton, saying that he's not doing as good as I think he is doing. I've seen nothing but good things out of him. As far as just progression as a player under Gus Bradley's system, I understand it has not been perfect, but it's looked a hell of a lot better than it has since he's been on this team. Perryman has looked like a fucking superstar, so I've been so happy to see that. I really like the way this linebacker room is kind of shaken out. We need to get Morrow back. We need to get Javen White back. But once we do, I really think this is going to end up being a pretty solid room for us. As far as Denver goes, they have Reed, they have Johnson, they have Strand, and they have... This is another room that was kind of a toss-up for me. But I will tell you right now, the way that our offensive line has played against the 3-4 defensive setup has completely sucked throughout this entire season. It's the only reason that I've given Denver the nod right now. It's not because I think the linebackers are better, but I think if they bring the right game plan, they're going to be able to completely fuck with our offensive line and end up getting pressure like you saw in that Chargers game, which was driving me insane. But they were able to repeat it and do it over and over again. Shit like that is going to be one of the reasons that this game ends up slipping away from us. I do not want to see that happen. We should definitely have enough tape on that shit right now to where we can fix that problem. But until I can see it and actually watch it happen in a game, I have to give the advantage to Denver on this one. Pushing into these secondaries, I'm going to do these as a group as far as the cornerbacks and safeties are concerned. The Denver Broncos have an incredibly strong secondary. It is very hard to argue that. They have Fuller and Surtain locking down that cornerback position, and they have Jackson and Simmons locking down those safeties. Those 4 dudes have the ability to take players completely away from the opposing team. And with Locke and Callahan, they honestly have some pretty decent depth on that secondary as well. We will still be missing Mullen and Arnett for this game. Missing Mullen, you saw how much that hurt last week. I'm really thinking Nate Hobbs is going to end up getting a start at the outside cornerback position, maybe seeing Meek Robertson move into that nickel. I really want to see how that whole situation plays out. I thought Amik played a hell of a game with that outside cornerback position last week, so it might end up staying the same. The depth charts are kind of going back and forth as far as who will be the starter and who will be playing that nickel. Just keep an eye on it to see how it shakes out for this game. But Teamer's questionable, Levitt's questionable. We're still pretty beat up in this secondary. But this is another positional group where if we have any injuries throughout this game, it really gets to a point where we might end up getting shit on because of that. It sucks to say, but as of right now, going into this game, Denver has a better secondary than we do. It's going to be up to Derek Carr to be able to go out and make those quick passes and those quick reads to be able to get through this secondary and get us marching down the field. Sadly, these bastards get both the checks in this situation. But I try to stay true in these videos, so they're going to end up getting a double check right here, which completely blows. Pushing into special teams, McManus versus Carlson. I've said before, there are very few kickers I would put in front of Daniel Carlson. But McManus is one of those guys. That dude has not missed a field goal or an extra point throughout this season. He is the first ranked in both of those things. Games like AFC West matchups can come down to a field goal at the end. We have seen that shit 1,000 times. This one really sucked to do, but you got to give credit where credit is due. McManus is a hell of a kicker. He is playing lights out this season. Wrapping it up at that punter position, I stand behind the fact that AJ Cole is going to be a Pro Bowl punter this year. I think that dude is playing one hell of a season. I think it's going to continue on regardless of what happens with this team. Sam Martin has been in the league for a long time, and I really think that he has lost something off of his leg. The advantage definitely goes to AJ Cole in this. Advantage Raiders. As you can see, the Raiders have the offensive edge in this game. But that Broncos defense and the way that our offensive line is shuffled around right now, I'm really curious to see how this plays out. But in my heart of hearts, I really think Derek Carr and this offense are going to take this game over. I'm still expecting a double-digit victory. If I had to call it right now, I'm going to call this game at Raiders 27, Denver 17. We need a big win to get us back on track right now and to put us back on the map as one of the teams that are a contender for that AFC title right now. Really expecting this team to respond in a positive way. I'm expecting a big victory and for us to continue to roll throughout this season. So that's pretty much what I have for you guys tonight. Let me know who you think has the advantage in this game. Until next time, guys, I'm Sunjoku. Thank you very much for checking it out. If you can click that like button on your way out, that really would help me out and really keeps me growing. Things should be good to go for Fan Friday tomorrow night. Hopefully be going live around 10 Eastern, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Until next time, guys, I'm Sunjoku, and we will catch you on the next one.